And welcome to RTF Sports Talk, back from the dead. I am Michael Buckeyes, the host of today's show. Joined today, as always, with Matthew Lyle. Matthew, how are you doing today, man?
TBH, I'm doing pretty good. It's really an honor to be on TBH Sports Talk, and I can't wait to get to talking sports, TBH.
I'll be sure to add you on that one, Matthew Lyle.
Don't at me, Eddie.
Don't at me.
Billy Hatton, man, how are you doing today, man?
To be honest, Mike, I'm a little tired, man. That's honest. Yeah, I went to sleep about 3-something last night. Woke up at a smooth 6 o'clock over here on Mountain Time, but ready to talk some sports. To be honest.
Alrighty, guys, and just to be honest, the Week 13 NFL season is kind of
Billy. How close do you even live to a mountain? Like, don't you live like the desert?
I'm actually in the desert, but I'm looking right at the mountain right now.
Right.
We actually have to go through the mountain to go to the other side of town.
What? That cracks me up. Like I'm not well traveled. I'm not a very established.
No,
fella.
I said the same thing when I got here. Like how we got mountains here?
Like how do you get to Walmart? Oh, it's over that mountain.
Yeah, seriously, you want to get to the other side of town? Oh, just got to go through the mountain.
Right.
Taking out 10.
Let's go ahead and apologize. We've done derailed the show. Mike, it's Week 13. Let's go.
Hey, I bet you Billy can throw a football over that mountain.
I bet you could.
I've actually fell down that mountain into a cactus. It doesn't feel all that great either.
Well, to be honest, that sounds like a bad Friday night.
All right, what's going on here?
Alrighty, guys, here. So, looking at Week 13 matchups here, Sunday was quite the special set of sad games here. You had the Baltimore Ravens beating the Falcons 26-16. Broncos beating the Bengals 24-10. The Rams upended the Lions 30-16. Cardinals humiliated the Packers 20-17. Dolphins win, Giants win, Bucks win, Jags win, Houston wins. Matthew Lyle, what is your biggest takeaway from Sunday's set of games?
Well, that I pretty much fell on the mountain into a cactus on my picks. I couldn't have been more wrong, and I think that's really indicative to the type of season that we're having, that there's the has and the has-nots. And the good teams have been good, and the bad ones have been bad. And so take a team like the Bears over the Giants. That one really shocked me because, I thought the Bears would come in and take care of business. Not only did they not, the Giants then couldn't take care of business. So it was a really entertaining game, but it kind of showed you that these teams that are at the top of it, these 8-3 teams, these 7-4 teams, they are pretty confident in their picks to make the playoffs. So they tend to take the foot off the gas. And then to take to some of Billy's points, these other teams that should be tanking or look like they could be tanking, they're not. They're actually trying to make something, salvage something. You know, Billy's been very high on the Giants. I thought yesterday was one of their better played games. I mean, Odell Beckham, you can say what you want about his attitude and his work ethic. The man's an athlete. He threw a 50-yard bomb on his tippy toes. I mean, it was just some interesting games. But the one that shocked me is just teams, other than the Raiders, who flat out looked like trash, the teams that you thought would be snoozing really didn't. And maybe it lends itself to the fact that they got young pieces. Billy brought that up a couple times yesterday's show. You know, the Arizona Cardinals, they got their quarterback. They just need to try to make it work. You know, these teams, they got their young players. They got their puzzle pieces. They're just trying to make them fit a little better. And it showed with some teams winning that I didn't think would win yesterday.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. A lot of these teams that we thought that should have been there, you know, they really disappointed me yesterday, which I kind of figured they would. With the Packers are probably looking to get a high draft pick as well. They need a playmaker. They need defense. They need basically everything on the defensive side of the ball. But I just had a feeling yesterday that Cardinal game was going to be a sneaky game for them. You know, all the rumors about Mike McCarthy came out on full go last week. And that's just too much for any human to deal with. So I guess that one doesn't shock me as much, but it does because it's the Packers and you were playing the sorry Cardinals. And also the Indianapolis Colts get, shut out. Seriously? Like shut out after Andrew Luck, 8 straight 300-yard passing games plus a touchdown to go with those 300 yards in every game, and he couldn't get one touchdown. I just thought the play calling down the stretch, the the game management, it did seem like they was urgent. I remember at one point when they had like a minute left, they had just completed a pass, and it took them like 45 seconds just to get the next play ran. So I'm really disappointed in the Colts because this is a team that I think me and Matthew both had sneaking into the AFC wild card.
Yeah, you kind of led the point there, Billy, to hijack Mike's next question about who really disappointed us. I forgot about the Colts, but that is a good point because it's all right to have bad games, but you just needed one touchdown to win. I mean, you lost 6-0. One touchdown would have got it done. I mean, it's not like you came out here and the other team was just on fire and you lost a 24-10 that you really wasn't ever in. No, you needed a touchdown. That's all you needed. And with the way Andrew Luck's been playing, if you would have told me going to that game, Andrew Luck needs one quarterback to win, I would have probably opened up my bank account and took whatever bet that they was going to win that game. But my actual disappointment goes to the Packers. I mean, I picked the Packers yesterday. I knew, man, that's a tongue twister. I picked the Packers yesterday, and I knew everything. You're right. I knew everything that we had kind of knew going in. Him and Aaron Rodgers McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers didn't get along. McCarthy was solidified to get out the door, but I thought that this was still a trial. That this was still Aaron Rodgers trying to get to the playoffs. Aaron Rodgers trying to salvage a season that might be a negative mark on his career if it doesn't turn it around. And then Mike McCarthy, who wanted to show people, hey, I still have something left in the tank. And ironically, a great offensive mind and a great quarterback, the game came down to a kicker missing a kick. That one really disappointed me, though. I thought we would at least see a couple of really dominant games from the Packers offense, even though we hadn't seen it all season. I thought that would be Mike McCarthy's resume to the rest of the league, and the fact that it didn't happen was very disappointing.
So, Billy, what is your biggest disappointment of last week, or this week, actually?
My biggest disappointment was the Giants. Matthew kind of alluded to it in the in his opening segment. I like the Giants because I like Odell. Odell, to me, I think is the best receiver in the league, and I want to see him. I want to see him thrive and them continue to win. And I get it, as an athlete, as a player, you would never want to tank. That's never in an athlete's mind. But as the coaching staff, like, and unless you know you're on your way out the door and you're coaching for another job, i.e. what Matthew alluded to yesterday's show about McCarthy, the reason why he took the Packers because he thought McCarthy would be coaching for his next job. I just think unless you're coaching Pat Shermer, unless you're coaching for your next job, like I don't understand the urgency to win, especially now you may have Dwayne Haskins also coming out. Herbert, as Matthew alluded to some shows ago, may not come out because he wants to play with his brother. Like I just don't understand winning in that scenario.
You know what I think it might be, Billy, because obviously I don't think you should tank in the NFL because I think there's going to be enough talent that's going to drop somewhere that you're going to be fine, and you're really going to set your team back years if you whiff on the number one pick. But the reason, unless you're John Gruden, who's got $100 million to his name and stake in that team, if you're another coach on a struggling team, you're not very comfortable. And I know that if they're in their first year and you got some first and second year guys, and in theory, they should be safe. But in practice, I don't know how safe they are because it was the worst kept secret around that McCarthy was going to be available next year to coach. So maybe if you're some of these young coaches, if you're somebody out in Denver, if you're somebody up in the Jets, if you're somebody in Jacksonville, if you're somebody in New York, you're not confident that you're going to have a job next year because there might be someone who is more proven and qualified than you out there available. Where some years you look at it and there's just not much available on the coaching market and you luck out and you get to keep your job. And then some years it's just not fair the other direction. Some years you might be 1 year in, but if Josh McDaniel decides he wants to commit somewhere, you might kick your brand new coach to the curb to take that new direction.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that point. Unless you're a tenured coach in the league, that could definitely jeopardize your next job or your current job. So yeah, I agree with that point for sure.
All right, so you guys are kind of alluding to Mike McCarthy and his future here. So, Matthew, what do you foresee in his future? Is he coaching somewhere, offensive coordinator? What are your thoughts on McCarthy's future?
Well, as much as he's held in high standards in the sport of football and in the NFL, I think everything is going to be an option. It's really, what does he want to do? If he just wants to coach for a couple more years, try to earn a little bit of a paycheck, be the head chief, the head honcho, then there's going to be jobs available. I mean, it's the NFL. There's always coaching carousels. He can go to college if he wants to do that. I don't think that somebody who's been in the NFL that long would want to go back and deal with recruits and kids, when they're used to being successful in the NFL. So I think there's obviously going to be a head coach position. But if he's looking at the big picture, and we talked about this on another show, and the more I think about it, people tell me that he doesn't need to take an offensive coordinator job. But I think he does, because one of the negative things that's been said about him is that his plays are a little outdated, that the NFL has changed, and the play calls that he goes to is more mid to late 2000s instead of 2018 going into 2020. I think if he goes to him and Andy Reid work together. Now, they were both coordinators, and Andy Reid wasn't the head coach. But if he goes to Andy Reid is kind of the same way. He got booted out of Philadelphia. A lot of people said, oh, he's stale, he's stagnant, we need something else. He goes to Kansas City. He has Alex Smith. Oh, did he lose it? He doesn't have it. No, he gets a good weapon. And then now it looks like Andy Reid from 20 years ago. So I think if McCarthy goes to Andy Reid and they sit there and they watch film, yes, Andy Reid's still going to do the play call. Yes, it's still going to be Andy Reid's show to run. But McCarthy gets to learn things. They get to watch film together. Apparently, they're really good friends. They get to bond over that. They get to share secrets. He gets to grow. And then in a year or two, he can come back out and get one of these young gun quarterbacks and say, hey, look what I've learned. Or maybe in 2 years, he takes over the Cleveland job, which the way Baker's playing probably won't be available, but let's just pretend it is. He's got a young quarterback with a nice arm. He says, hey, look what I learned from Kansas City. Let's roll. Now we're off to the races.
Yeah, I definitely agree that he should probably start off to be a coordinator. That's what a lot of these head coaches that don't work out, that's what they tend to do. You see the Wade Phillips, he head coaching job, maybe not as good or his record wise. And what does he do? He go take over, that Texas defense and they're starting to get good. You see guys like, I'm slipping his name, Tom Coughlin. He gets fired from, or they mutually agree to part ways. And what does he do? He go take over the Jacksonville defense. So you normally see these guys when they get fired from being a head coach, unless they get a immediate good situation, they go be a coordinator for a few years, get that, and then build that reputation back up for somebody to hire them as a head coach. I fully expect Mike McCarthy to do that. To your Chiefs point, Matthew, that would be a really good fit with him. Only if they would give me their offensive coordinator. I remember back when Greg Williams and everybody first got fired, we talked about potential head coaches, and I mentioned the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs. I would love to take him. I'm sure he's learned a thing or two from Andy Reid. So, but to the main point, I definitely agree. Mike McCarthy should probably go be a coordinator first, and then come back and be a head coach.
Well, let's just take the route that he wants a little bit of each. Say he doesn't want to be a head coach again right away, but he wants to win right away. He doesn't. He still wants his fingerprints on something. And I know that fans, especially the people who are saying he's wasting Aaron Rodgers' career, are probably going to laugh and ridicule this pick. But as a fan, if Josh McDaniels goes somewhere else, I would be completely okay with him coming in and being the Patriots offensive coordinator. And the reason that is because he doesn't have to worry about the entire team. One of his biggest problems as a coach was building that defense. You got Bill Belichick as head coach. He got you taken care of there. And Tom Brady going to do Tom Brady. Tom Brady doesn't need this new fangled triple option to be successful. Tom Brady can probably get it done with the old wing T as long as dink and dunks are available. And then he can take it off the top with Josh Gordon. So I would be completely fine with that here because I think there'd be that mutual respect. He would, because
he fits more of a Tom Brady style as well, because Tom Brady don't like to do all that, spread them out, fake reverse dive here and then throw it
the
up.
Patriots had 2 fullback touchdowns yesterday. When's the last time you've seen that this season that, wasn't a reception? So I think that's where he goes, because that's, as a Patriots fan, depending on how long Tom Brady has left, that's my fear, is that Josh McDaniels leaves and we bring in somebody who tries to reinvent the wheel when, they're saying don't fix it if it ain't broken. Well, the Patriots offense isn't broken. I mean, it may not be up on par. It may be not putting up 50 points a game, but it does what it needs to do to fit that team well. Mike McCarthy could come in and understand what's going on with this organization and say, okay, I got you, Tom Brady. I got what you need. You tell me what you want, I'll make it happen. Opposed to somebody like Patrick Mahomes or Baker Mayfield needs somebody to come in and say, look at this. Everybody laughs at my car metaphors. Tom Brady needs an old, reliable car. That's all he needs. He needs something reliable to get him back and forth to work. When you go to these young guys, Patrick Mahomes, Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield, you need the flashy Maserati. McCarty's not a Maserati guy. So
that's a good point.
Man, and I would like to continue this Packers talk here, but I just got some breaking news here on my phone. The Carolina Panthers have fired multiple offensive coordinators, including pretty much all of the defensive staff. Is this a surprise to you guys since they're on a 4-game skid? I believe this is their first 4-game losing streak since 2013.
So yesterday, this would have been a surprise because not too long ago, they were speaking very highly of the offensive coordinator and the Panthers. Him kind of getting the best out of Cam Newton. But I think if that's true, Mike, and if everything falls through like you said, that might be the echo of what I just said last segment, that guys who were safe are no longer safe because of other firings. I'm hearing Cliff Kingsbury's name come around as a lot of people like him as an NFL offensive coordinator. Mike McCarthy, is he going to be the next offensive coordinator? There's some hot names coming out in a league that showed you that if you have a Sean McVay, if you have an Andy Reid, if you have, the Eagles of last year with Doug Peterson, if you have Sean Payton type of offenses, you're going to be successful. Guys who have mediocre offenses or stable offenses just aren't going to be enough. And the NFL's a copycat league. So today it doesn't really surprise me that knowing that these names are coming available, if these teams are starting to hope, hey, I got Cam Newton, I got a veteran quarterback who has all the bells and whistles of these young guns. Or you got guys in Cleveland saying, hey, look, we got Baker Mayfield. He's young, he's fast, he's good. You need him. It doesn't really surprise me as of today.
Not the Carolina Panthers. It doesn't surprise me one bit. I've been on the Carolina Panther train, as Matthew for at least about the last 4 or 5 weeks. The week that they started winning, that last week they started winning. And if you look at their offense, and I was watching them yesterday, man, and it just seems like to me all they know is 22. Give the ball to 22, no matter how you get it to him, and let him try to make some plays for us. At the start of the season, that offense was fluid. Everybody was getting the ball, and now it seems as if it's only one person. Funches, I think, didn't have his first catch yesterday, I think, until the third quarter, midway, and that's supposed to be your number one receiver. So I think the lackluster or the mediocrity of their offense these past few weeks during this losing streak is the reason for this. So it doesn't surprise me. Defense, now that kind of surprised me because I just don't think they have it on defense anymore. I don't think these guys are getting old. Their main guys, they're starting to get old. Kuechly, he's been hurt a lot. You don't know really how those concussions are taking a toll of him. You got rid of all of your DBs. So, you have a bunch of young guys back there. So on the defensive side of the ball, that kind of surprised me. But the offensive side of the ball, no, that doesn't surprise me at all.
See, Billy, this entire thing reeks of desperation, depending on who made this call, because what it sounds like to me is Ron Rivera throwing everything of weight off of a sinking ship. Ron Rivera knows his job could be next, and he wants to basically say, nope, it was my offensive coordinator. Nope, it was my defense. Look what I'm willing to do to keep my job. Look what I'm willing to do.
Imagine if he go out and get Mike McCarthy.
No, and I think that's what he's hoping, is that he's able to come out here and get the next big thing. And everybody's like, oh, there's Riverboat Ron again. He fired his guys when things weren't going good, and man, that's why he's great. But these also have the fear that he might be gone.
All right, guys. So let's go ahead and move on over to the amateur ranks here on the gridiron. Yesterday afternoon, the college football playoff was announced. You have Alabama versus Oklahoma, and you have Clemson versus the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Matthew Lyle, are you surprised by these games? Are you satisfied? Let's break down these games a little bit.
Well, so like me and Billy talked in yesterday's show, I felt like this was exactly what the committee was going to do, so I wasn't surprised at all. I felt like the committee wanted Alabama and potentially Tua versus Kyler Murray. They wanted the potential of Notre Dame and Clemson, an ACC champion versus a part-time ACC team. They're a better matchup. Billy alluded to yesterday in his picks that he thought Oklahoma was better than Notre Dame and would be ranked as such. And then we talked about that the fear is that Alabama is going to smack Notre Dame, and that's not good for business. So if we're talking who's better, I think Notre Dame would really be down there, probably with or below Ohio State. But I think aside from my own personal feelings of how I think it should be, given the criteria that the committee gives us, which is a mixture of conference championship, overall record, strength of schedule, and the eye test, I think they got it right. I think this is what you had to do. I think they even admitted to it yesterday that they thought that Oklahoma and Georgia was on par, if not better than Notre Dame, but they felt that they needed to reward Notre Dame's lack of losses. And if that's a part of their criteria, then that's something that they went with. So no, I wasn't surprised at all. I would have actually been surprised had it went any other way.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised at all either. As Matthew alluded to, I kind of thought that they would put Oklahoma ahead of Notre Dame. But then once you start laying out the matchup, Tua, Kyler Murray, which are probably your two front runners in the Heisman, once you can sell that matchup, I think he had me sold at that point. The committee felt the same way as well. I definitely agree. I think this is the first year that they probably actually got it right. I think this is the year that there's really no controversy outside of people saying that Georgia was the best team, was one of the top 4 teams and didn't get in. But you can't justify having 2 losses and a conference loss over a team with 1 loss in a conference title. So I think they got everything right. These Final Four games should be some good ones.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you, Billy. Now, one thing I will say, and I want to clarify for Billy, Mike, and the people listening, I do like the SEC, and I think they have the best chance to give me chaos. But I really just want to see chaos. And if you told me that next year 4 ACC teams would get in, I don't think it's possible. But I would be okay with that because it's going to give me chaos. It's going to give – change comes from chaos. And I heard – and that stays truer to me yesterday. I had no faith in Georgia getting in the top 4, but I kind of wanted it. I kind of wanted it to be right. I kind of wanted it because I – 2 SEC teams, it's chaos. But I wanted it more than ever after something that I think it was Reese Davis said. He said that when talking to a lot of the college football owners, there's no real desire to go to 8 teams. It's not really something that fans are talking about it, but the important people aren't really talking about it. There's no true, as he put it, there's no appetite for it. If Georgia had gotten in over an undefeated Notre Dame or a 1-loss Oklahoma or a 1-loss conference championship Ohio State, even though they were ranked higher than them, that would have created that hunger. That would have created that fire. And I wanted chaos from the get-go, but I also want 8 teams. Shoot, I want 64 teams. I think, like Billy said, this is probably the best year they got it right because it was the best year. There was 3 undefeated teams. You don't get much easier than that if that's what you're going for. But I wanted chaos. In those years where, say, Clemson had lost, say Notre Dame had lost to South Carolina or to Southern California, say Georgia had beaten Bama, and now everybody had 1 loss, that would have been amazing. That would have been pure chaos, and cities would have burned, hypothetically, theoretically, not realistically. But you know what I'm saying? Like, fan bases would have went crazy And that's what I was wanting. But, I mean, clearly we didn't get it. I think we got a good matchup here. I think it was pretty cut and dry once the dust did settle.
Yeah, that's a good point about what Reese Davis said about the commissioners or they didn't want to go to an 18, or they're not even talking about it. But as he alluded to, and as you just said, if Georgia would have got in, I guarantee you, when their schools are getting left out and they can't get that extra bowl money for going to the playoffs and all that other stuff, I guarantee you we'll see a big shift or a big change in their minds.
Yeah, if you ever get to a point, let's just pretend for a second you get to a point where you get – if Georgia would have made it and Notre Dame would have made it as well, you would have had 3 Power 5 conferences and 2 undefeated teams, counting UCF, left out. You would have had 95% of the country just enraged.
That would have had Notre Dame go join the conference. I can guarantee you that.
Absolutely.
Well, I got a couple questions for you guys here. I'm going to gear this first question here toward Mr. Grand Hefe himself, or like over there at Mr. Grand Hefe.
Hey, that's my gamer tag. TBH.
I alluded this on a different show here, and like I said, if Georgia would have, say if the outcome it would have been the same, but Georgia trailed the whole game and like kept it close, they would have been in on that 4th seed. Do you agree with that?
If they had won or if they had lost?
No. Like the outcome is the same.
Oh no,
but they trailed the whole game.
They would have. Georgia would have been in. Georgia. Me and Matthew talked about it yesterday. Georgia's worst mistake was actually losing too early.
Yeah.
Or losing to the wrong team.
Billy, I think he's
not
asking,
even playing. Go ahead.
Billy, I think he's asking, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mike. I think he's saying everything happened the same, except instead of Georgia being up by 20 and then blowing the lead, they just trailed by 7 the entire time. Is that what you're asking, Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
but I still think that they wouldn't get in because people would say, well, this is what we expected. Alabama's going to beat Georgia. We all think I did have the question wrong, so I appreciate it for correcting. But yeah, I still think they still get left out. A loss, there's no way.
Yeah, that's the only reason I felt the need to correct Billy, because the way it sounded is you were saying they would get in, and I was like, Billy, the way you talk, 2 losses would never get in. And to your point, Billy, I think that actually looks worse. The fact that for 3 quarters you outplayed Bama was about the only shot they had. If for the entire 60 minutes you were 1 lap clearly behind Bama, if even if you trailed by 7 every time you scored, they went and scored, I think that as a whole looks like you didn't deserve to be there. But the fact that for 3 quarters they really just gave it to Bama, and then they had a 4th quarter where you could make up a number of excuses, made it look better in the eyes of a lot of people. But if it had just been 60 minutes of mediocrity and kind of staying even with them, I think the perception of the public would be they're considerably worse than Bama, even though it would have still been a 7-point loss.
Yeah, it actually helped them that they had the lead. It actually helped that they played so well with Bama, because that's what actually sparked the conversation of could a 2-loss Georgia team get in. I think if they had just lost outright, nobody would. It would have clearly just been between Ohio State and Oklahoma. But the fact that they played with them, I think that's what got them into the conversation of Georgia is one of the 4 best teams.
I'll be honest with you. The way the game was going up into that final 2 minutes, the SEC commissioners and presidents could not have been happier. Because let's just say Georgia would have held on to that win. You would have had a Georgia team that said, hey, Georgia's clearly better than Bama. But, hey, did you see Bama come back down from 14? They ended up losing, but they came back, man. These are number 1, 2 teams in the country. And there would be a point to it. That, you would have 2 1-loss teams now, and it would be an amazing game. So I think the committee, up until 2 minutes when Georgia went for that fake field goal or fake punt and then set up Alabama perfectly, and then it was pretty much a wrap, the committee was like, well, we may actually pull this off. We may actually get 2 teams because we've given you the best game. We've shown you that Georgia can beat Bama, and then we've shown you that Bama will never go away. So, committee, you're safe putting both in. Because I think that's all the committee's afraid of, is putting a dud out there. They let Notre Dame in, didn't win a conference championship, did go undefeated. If they would have put Notre Dame versus Bama and they would have got beat by 40, I don't know if Notre Dame, like we talked with Washington, I don't know if Notre Dame could ever play themselves back in.
All right, guys. So let's go ahead and move over back to the professional ranks here. We do have one left game here on week 13. You have the 6-5 Washington Redskins versus the 5-6 Philadelphia Eagles. A very big game for both teams here. Matthew Lyle, who do you got in this game?
So to save my pick, and because I truly think I'm going with the Eagles, because I think they are the better team. I think they are the more aware team. They're the team built better to win. Washington's really struggling with injuries. We've talked about that for weeks. And then they lost their quarterback. They're still rolling with Colt McCoy. I just don't think that's going to be enough. But I will say, because of my hatred for the Cowboys, I will roll with whatever team wins this game tonight. Because the loser of this game is pretty much out of the running for the NFC title. But the winner of this game still has a shot. So I think it's going to be Eagles, but I'll roll with whoever team wins.
Yeah, the Eagles should win this game. This is going to be a tough game for the Eagles. It's not going to be easy at all. Obviously, it's a divisional rival, divisional opponent, and I agree. The loser of this game, I think, is done. Even though if the Redskins lose this game, they'll only be a couple games behind. But they wouldn't own any tiebreakers, so they would need literally a miracle to get in the playoffs if they lose this game. So the Eagles should win. They're at home. They're around their fans. I think Carson Wentz played well tonight. Maybe a 3-touchdown, 1 interception type game against that struggling Redskins secondary. I think the Eagles win.
And Matthew Lyle, just to kind of pat you on the back there. I think the Eagles lost. They would still have a chance because they do still have 2 divisional games left versus the Cowboys, and then they do play the Redskins again. So they would probably have the best opportunity to still win the division on a loss, counting by game wise. Looking forward.
Yeah,
here.
I just don't know. Has the Redskins already lost to the Cowboys? Because I know the Eagles have. And
yes.
That head-to-head.
Yeah, they lost some on Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Okay, so that head-to-head is going to be tough for both teams to overcome. So I'm still riding with my Eagles pick, but I really just don't want the Cowboys to win the division.
All righty, guys. So that will do it for the meat of today's show. But here comes the bacon and eggs. We do have a daily rant here, and to be honest, Billy Hatton is going to bring it on hard today, guys. So Billy Hatton.
wait. Before my man goes on his rant, who eats the main course and then follows it up with bacon and eggs?
I do. Me.
Like, that's dessert. Billy, come be the dessert. Don't be bacon and egg. I just had a nice sirloin steak, had some nice potatoes, had a nice starchy side, maybe followed it down with a nice beverage, and you're following it up with bacon and eggs?
Yeah, 100%, man. Always.
Billy, that better be your rant.
Welcome to Kansas.
Oh, my goodness.
Go
back.
Welcome to Kansas. Okay, well, today, TBH, I really didn't prepare for the rant. But I will say this because of the conversation that we're going to be having, the conversation that has been had throughout college football, sports people, and that's committee. Give us at least a 16 playoff. I know they have about 2 to 3 more years on this contract, on this current contract of 4. And as of right now, for what Reese said, it's not going to happen anytime soon. Probably when this new contract over, probably another 4 teams. But just give us 6 teams. Just give us 6 teams. You know, who knows what a Georgia could do in this college football playoff? Who know what Ohio State could do? Who know what a UCF could do? You know, because I didn't expect them to come back on Saturday, but they did. It would give people. It would then shut people up. Okay, your team don't belong now. Move on. Let's get to the real players. So, committee, 6 teams at least. Just 4 is not enough. If you have to cut back a game on the season or something, give us 6 teams. Let the best teams play, and we won't have to worry about it.
Billy, let me propose something for you. I know we talked on it last time. Everybody keeps saying if you make the playoffs 8 weeks, you got to take a regular season away. What if we took the conference championship seat week away? And I'm not saying get rid of the conference championship game, but what if scheduled games? And we talked about on the last show, Billy, or last week, that I think what's best for these conferences would also be if the conference championship was just the best two teams in the conference, right? The ACC number one versus ACC
Big 12.
number two. Big 12,
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. But what if that entire week, because say you played your 11 scheduled games, I know there's 12 now, but that 12th game wasn't scheduled, and basically all it was, a conference has 14 teams. It's 1 versus 2, 3 versus 4, 4 versus – so everybody still plays 12 games. But that last conference game is a little better. You get some better conference. You still get a conference champion because you're going to have 1 versus 2. But, Kentucky was, I'd say they're the 5th best team in the conference. They get to play LSU. I think it would be just fun to have that happen because we all love the tournament and the playoff environment. That gives a tournament environment without it being a playoff. And then you take your 8 regular season winner, you take your 5 Power 5 conference, your couple of at-large bids, and then your UCF type team. Like I think that would be the perfect setup. You're still playing the same amount of weeks, still the same amount of time. It just, let's be real, because unless you were the top 5 teams, it kind of got boring down the stretch. As a fan of Florida State, I mean, how thrilled was you when the last week of the season rolled around and it was Florida and you really didn't have nothing to play for?
Yeah, and then especially when you're losing by 20 at home. Yeah, I definitely agree. I only mentioned the takeaway game because I know college athletics they can only have so many hours, right. And all that other stuff. So yeah,
even in our debate, I'm fine with Bama scrapping the Citadel. I'm fine with Kentucky scrapping Central Michigan. Like I'm fine with that. I just, and if the rule says, like, don't get me wrong, I would love to play 16, 17 games, but if the rule says you can only play 15. Let's get rid of one of those and have because I just think even in down years, you look at Florida State, you guys had a down year. If that last game of the season was versus, I don't know, say you're all the 7th worst team or 7th best team in the ACC and you guys played against the 8th best team. I just think things like that would be more interesting, even for teams who had a down year.
That's a good point.
All right, guys, that is it for RTF Sports Talk. Join us tomorrow at the same time, same location. iTunes, Google Podcasts, YouTube, etc. Be sure to join us, like and subscribe, follow us. We'll catch you guys all tomorrow. Have a good day.